Good afternoon, everyone. I am Tenitria Williams, and welcome back to Minding My Mental Health. You all are, I'm really excited. You guys know what I want you to do. I want you to hashtag live. If you are watching us live, let us know where you're watching from. If you're watching the replay, I want you to hashtag replay and let us know where you're watching from. I'm going to share this to different groups, and so I want to encourage you to do the same thing. If you are watching this, go ahead and tag someone. Share this video. Today's topic, we're talking about faith and psychology, or faith and mental health. And we're going to tie these things together. So again, if you are watching, go ahead and share, tag your friends, tag your family. I'm going to do the same thing. I see a couple people are joining here from different platforms. So I'm going to share this video to some groups I am a part of on social media. You do the same. Give me 1 second. Let me share this. Hey, Kevin, how are you? It was nice to meet you on Sunday. So we're going to give people a few minutes. Again, tag your friends, your family, all of that good stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I see people are joining. Again, tag, so share on your social media and all that fun stuff. So again, today's topic is we actually have our Q&A. So if you have any questions concerning mental health, anything like that, relationship stuff, let me know. You can send it to my inbox. You can also send it in the comments if you're okay with your name being attached to it. If you don't want your name attached to it, send it to me in my inbox and I will read it without your name being mentioned at all. And we'll answer those questions. I didn't get a lot of questions for today's Q&A, so I just decided that I have a topic that I wanted to discuss. And so this topic is something that really is important to my heart. And so I wanted to discuss it. And we're talking about our faith. Because a lot of people kind of keep those things separate, their faith and mental health, and they don't think that these things can coexist or they don't work together. So we want to talk about how these things can coexist, how these things work together. Again, if you are watching, go ahead and tag your friends, tag your family, tag a believer, tag someone who you know can help, tag your uncle, your cousin, your little sister, your brother, all of that. Tag those people because I believe this is something that really can help us today. So as you guys know, I'm a licensed professional counselor, which means I had to go through, all of the college, all of the schooling. I had to pass the exams to be able to do this. I had to work under supervision for like 3 years, which means I had to work under someone else so that they could approve what I was doing and help me to grow and learn. And I've been doing this now for over 16 years, probably closer to 17 years now. I have to count exactly, but I've been doing this for a while. And I advocate for people to really take their time to take care of their mental health, right? Take your time to learn about how you can do that, setting boundaries, being healthy, and all of those things. I think those things are very important. And I advocate for this all the time, which is literally where this broadcast came from, birthed from me advocating for people to do that. But I'm also a Christian, and I don't make any apologies about that. And so I'm a licensed professional counselor, but I'm also a believer in Jesus Christ. And I totally believe in the power of God to heal and deliver. And I believe in the power of God. And I believe that that power is superior to psychology. Okay. So I want to say that, and I don't make any qualms about it. I believe the power of God is superior to any psychology theory that we have in operation. Okay. Hey, Angela, how are you? So some people say the question then arises, if I have God and I believe that that's a superior power, why would I need to learn about mental health things? Why would I need to go to counseling? Why would I need to do what we call the soul work? And so I want to kind of bridge that gap between psychology and Christianity today. Okay, so psychology is the study of the human mind. It's the study of how we function and why we function the way we do, especially affecting our behavior. The word psychology actually is derived from two Greek words. One is psyche, which means soul or mind, and logos, meaning the discourse or the study of. So if you combine these words together, psychology is the study of the mind or the study of the soul. Man, meaning the human being is a three-part being, and that is our body, our soul, and our spirit. Our body, our soul, and our spirit. Go ahead and put that in the comments. Man is a three-part being: mind, body, soul, and spirit. As we accept Jesus, our spirit is secure. So once we are believers, and again, this broadcast, I typically do these subjects a lot broader, but today I'm specifically talking to people who identify as Christians or identify as believers of Jesus Christ. So our body is the physical home of our being, right? Our soul, our body, our spirit. Our spirit is taken care of when we accept Jesus. We're good. We're secure. Our mind, however, is housed under our soul. So what is our soul? The soul includes your mind, your will, your emotions, your imagination, and your intellect. So I'm going to say that again. Your soul encompasses your mind, your will, your imagination, your emotions, and your intellect. Our soul houses the mental health component of our being. Our soul houses the mental health component of our being. What does the word say about taking care of our mental health? Well, in First John, it tells us, "Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers." Now, John is reflecting the heart of God when he states that he wants our souls to prosper. He wants our mind, our psyche to prosper. Our soul is impacted by our experiences, and trauma can impact our souls. But it's not just trauma. Disappointments can impact our soul. Celebrations can impact our accomplishments, can impact our souls. When we're loved well, when we feel rejected, when we feel neglected, when we feel celebrated, the way we see provision come in and out of our life, all of that impacts our soul. If we feel accepted or rejected, again, all of that impacts our soul. So Romans 12:2, and I'm not trying to preach, but I want to bridge this gap because I want to make it really clear that God is not against us exploring and taking care of our mental health. Tiara, I know you're doing a lot of this same work over there. You're doing a lot of great stuff. So kudos to you. I see you on here today. Romans 12:2 says, "Do not be conformed by the patterns of this world," or do not be conformed to this world, "but be ye transformed by the renewing of your" what? Your mind, our soul. Be transformed, change your life by renewing your mind, or a part of your soul. So then we are able to test and prove God's will in this earth. As a believer, our job is to partner with God to help bring his will to pass in the earth. As a believer, our job is to partner with God to help bring his will to pass in the earth. I partner with God to help his people to prosper in their souls. That is my job as a believer, and a part of my assignment as a believer is to do it in this lane of mental health. Does that make sense? Let me know if you guys are following and if this is making sense. So in order for our souls to prosper, our minds must be renewed. The Bible gives us universal truth and universal instruction, but God has specific plans for each of us individually. Okay. The Bible gives us universal truth and understanding, but God has specific paths for our lives. And when we examine renewing our mind, we have to examine the things that have impacted our souls individually, how that impact is showing up in our lives. So then we can make a conscious decision of how we're going to behave. It is a conscious identifying of unhealthy thinking patterns. We have to replace those with healthy thinking patterns, right? So for an example, if a young girl is sexually abused, the abuser may directly or indirectly teach her or that it was her fault that she was abused, right? And she grows up carrying the guilt and the shame, sometimes depression, anxiety, and much more. All of these things show up because they came from the trauma and the belief from the trauma, that this was my fault, the belief from the trauma that I'm worthless, the belief from this trauma that I'm not valued. All of those beliefs that came from the trauma, she carries with her. Once she can identify that she was carrying this guilt for years because she thought it was her fault. And once she realizes it was not her fault and that she was indeed violated by someone else, she was not to blame. She can release that thinking pattern, and begin to recognize that, again, it's not her fault. She was violated, and that she doesn't have anything to be ashamed of. And in that same situation, she can then begin to feel like she's empowered now. She can stand up for herself, speak for herself. So in the past, she may have overcompensated because she was trying to overcome that sense of guilt. But now she says, I don't have to overcompensate. I'm not guilty. And what I can do is say no to people. I can set a healthy boundary. What I can do is advocate for myself and speak up for myself and say that doesn't align with what I want to do. I'm not going to go there because I don't feel comfortable. And so that is why we have counselors. That is why we have mental health professionals to help you unravel some of the thinking that life has either directly or indirectly taught you. And when you begin to see things in a more clear way, you're able to make different decisions, right? And so it's really important that we understand that therapy can help us untangle those unhealthy thoughts that tie us up in our soul. Okay. Again, let me know if this is making sense to you guys. Tag somebody that can benefit from this. Share it to your story, because I think this is going to be helpful for some people. Also, we need to understand that trauma impacts our brain. Okay. So it's not just our mind, but trauma actually can impact the physical brain that we have in our bodies. And it literally can be trapped in our bodies. Trauma can show up in our physical health through physical pain, through having sleep problems, emotional disturbances, flashbacks, gastrointestinal problems, cardiovascular problems, neurological problems, musculoskeletal problems, respiratory problems, dermatological problems. All types of things can show up in our physical body that really is a result of trauma that we carried and we held in our body. And trauma can make it difficult for our brains to self-regulate and to calm down. Trauma can make it difficult for our brains to self-regulate because our brains are designed to keep us safe. Our brains are designed to release certain chemicals to keep us safe. So there are times when you are in a traumatic experience, the frontal lobe or the prefrontal cortex, that part of the brain that's known for working with your executive functioning, or basically our decision making, that part of the brain shuts down because it says we don't have time to think through all of these things. We have to survive, right? And so you can have people and you go, why didn't they just do this? Or why would they do this? Because that part of the brain is shutting down and our body goes into survival mode. And we may shut down, we may run, we may freeze, we may try to appease the situation or the person, depending on what the trauma is. And so there are a lot of things that happen in our physical bodies. And if you know those things, you can begin to change your narrative and the way you're seeing it. So you don't blame yourself because you didn't hit your abuser upside the head and run. You say, oh, my body was keeping me alive. And so you actually begin to say, thank you for keeping me alive. And now I can be on the path to healing. Does that make sense? Again, let me know how you guys are tracking with this. I want you guys I want it to make sense for everybody. But research has shown us that there are things that we can do to help us to learn how to regulate our bodies. There are things that we can do. We can learn in therapy, learn through psychology, learn through self-help and self-empowerment, self-development work that begins to help us to overcome some of this trauma. Through research, some of which was divinely inspired by God, there are practical things you can do to help your body release trauma. As a believer, you are a solution to a problem that this world has. Okay, I'm going to say that again. As a believer, you are a solution that this world has. So I believe as a believer, I am a solution to a problem that this world has, and a problem that this world has. I'm not the only solution, but I am a solution to a problem that this world has. Tiara is also a solution in the same vein. There are so many people who need help. There is not a shortage of need. And so we need to have people out there answering the call. So when we begin to talk about psychology and mental health, or psychology and our soul, we need to understand that there are people here that have partnered with God to say, I want to help people in their soul to prosper. So, but so many people will say, all of that sounds, that's good, great, great, great. But the reality is they don't believe that any of this stuff is really true. They say all of that is demonic. That person doesn't have bipolar disorder, they got a demon. This person doesn't have so and so, they have a demon. They have a demon. And so everything sometimes in the church is identified as a demon, right? Do I, as a believer and as a professional, believe that there are demons? The answer for me is yes. I do. I do believe that there is soul work to be done, but I also believe that there are demonic factors that are at play and in the lives of people in the world. I do believe that there is a spirit realm, and there are demonic attacks, right? And so now as a believer, we have to say it's not, they say it's not psychology, it's all demonic. Well, I do believe that there are demonic spirits, and I believe these spirits can torment people. I do also believe in deliverance. I am a part of a deliverance ministry. I have witnessed deliverance. I have been a part of walking people through deliverance. Obviously, I didn't do it. Holy Spirit does the delivering, but I've been a part of walking people through that process. However, after deliverance has taken place, there still has to be a renewing of the mind, right? So I want you to picture yourself walking up. I like to climb mountains. Here in Arkansas, I've climbed like Pinnacle Mountain. So when I lived in Georgia, I used to like to go climb Kennesaw Mountain. So I like to climb mountains. I don't know what it is. I just enjoy it. I feel refreshed when I get to the top. I'm tired, but I like to do that. Now, here's what I will say. Imagine trying to climb that mountain with 120 pounds strapped to your back. It's going to be very, very difficult to get up that mountain. That is, demonic oppression can hold you down, and make things convoluted. It can make it difficult for you to make these certain choices. It can make it difficult. They are not all powerful, and I'm not going to get into that. Although I did, everyone who's watching will be very happy to know we will be actually doing a whole episode with our deliverance minister at our church, Dr. Chandra Washington, and we're going to be talking about deliverance and mental health. So I'm really excited about that. Give fire and hearts for that. But think about, you're walking up this mountain and you have this 120-pound weight, monkey, dog, whatever, on your back. That's going to be difficult for you to do. Even if I take that weight off of you, so there is deliverance and that monkey is off of your back, guess what? You still have to make steps to go up the mountain. Just because the weight was removed from your back does not mean you don't have to make steps to go up the mountain. So when you receive deliverance, you go up and you get hands laid on you. You go up and you receive prayer. You go up and you get oily. You go and all of those things, and hands have been laid on you. You still have to do the mental work to change your thinking. Otherwise, you will be back in the same situation because you didn't understand what door was open that allowed that demonic activity to come into your life. And so you kept that door open and it came back in. So let me go. I'm going to briefly talk about this for a minute. I went through with Chandra, Dr. Washington. I don't know I guess it was last year. Yes, it was last year. Last year, we went through deliverance training, or freedom school is what we called it, deliverance training. And what we learned is that the demonic realm is very legalistic. Basically, demons cannot operate without legal right. Legal right, and this is tricky, so I want you guys to really listen and pay attention. Legal right can come through sin. Legal right may come through someone in the bloodline that opened it up through sin, or through some agreement with the enemy. Legal right can come through different ways, and our ignorance keeps people tied to things that are not healthy. So you could open the door for the demonic through unforgiveness, for example, right? So if you're refusing to forgive, you could open the door for demonic activity in your life. Okay, so the demons say, I want that person. I want to oppress that person. And we're saying, no, 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 no. But when you open your heart for offense and refuse to forgive, when you refuse to do that, they go, I have right, because they've opened the door through unforgiveness for me to come in and do things in their life, and to have authority here, that they didn't say it out of their mouth. Their actions of unforgiveness open that door. And so demonic oppression is real. I do believe that. But again, even if you walk through deliverance and someone says, and it's a process of repenting and denouncing some things, and commanding those spirits to leave, right? When that happens, you still have to do the work to change your mind again, so that that door does not get open again, or that door does not remain open. So deliverance, is it real? Absolutely. Is it needed? Absolutely. Is it the end of the story? No, it is not. Deliverance is not the end of the story. In fact, it may, for some people, it is the beginning of a lot of work. It is the beginning of untangling our minds. Because again, think about, demonic oppression can make your thoughts cloudy. Once you get rid of that, you still have to say, okay, the thoughts aren't cloudy, but I still have to make rational decisions and rational choices when we're going through this. So that's really important that we can recognize that. Demons only operate, again, in a space where they have legal rights. And if we don't learn to not only cast that out, but to learn how to close those doors, we will continue to go in a cycle. And in fact, it can be worse if you receive deliverance and you don't do the work to close those doors. Okay. Now, some people are saying, okay, well, that sounds great, but again, I've got God. So if I got God, well, I don't really have to do any of those things. Well, research tells us that human beings, and we know this really through common sense, but I want to talk about it anyways. Research shows us that human beings were not designed to just do life alone. We were created to do life in groups together as family, through, through a community, right? And so babies, they've done research with babies, and survival, our survival is not just about food, shelter, and those types of things. Affection, love, acceptance, all of that is also necessary for our survival. And so when we start to think we can just do everything by ourselves, or just with God, and no human interaction is needed, we lie to ourselves. We need other people. There's a song, and it's an old song now, but they used to say, I need you to survive. That is true. We need other people to help us to survive. And so if you're trying to say, I'm just going to do it all by myself, or I'm just going to do it with God alone, God himself will tell you, you need other people to help you, bring you new information. Other people can begin to speak to you and say things to you. Other people can hug you and release some things. You need other people. And so what I would tell you is, stop trying to do it by yourself and get some help. That's why God gave me a heart to do this work. This is why he said, hey, I'm going to put this in your heart, because I need somebody in the earth realm to partner with me, so that they can help other people, and together we can just begin to help. And it's like a match. And when I strike one, someone else, and we can create that ripple effect. So God is not against you doing things to take care of your mental health, like counseling, self-development, all those types of things. He always wants us to know, however, that he ultimately is the source. These avenues are resources, but they are needed. Okay, so these avenues are resources, but God still wants us to do the work to have our souls whole. So somebody may say, well, why do you keep talking about going to a counselor? Can I just talk to my pastor? Absolutely, you can talk to your pastor, and your pastor may have resources that can absolutely help you and change your life. However, what I would encourage pastors to do is to know when someone is saying something outside of your knowledge, your scope of understanding, and that you would refer them to a professional, right? And so it's not that counselors are against pastors. We want to work together. And in fact, what I would tell you is to find a counselor that is Holy Spirit filled. That way they can hear Holy Spirit as well, and walk you through the practical psychology treatment and those types of things that may be needed for you to really thrive in life. Now, I want to give, do you guys have any questions? I don't see any questions in my inbox, but I just want to double check. If you guys have questions, you can put them in the comments, or you can send them to my inbox if you want. The questions do not have to be about what we're talking about today, but I'm going to finish this and then I'll answer any questions. But if you have questions about specifically what we're talking about, again, go for it and I'd love to answer that. So I want to give an example of kind of how I see it when we're talking about psychology, right? So there is a story in the Bible about a man named Naaman. Naaman had a skin disease called leprosy, and it was bad. It was painful. It was, from what I've seen, the pictures, it looked really, it looked bad, right? It looked disgusting. And the servant of Naaman's wife was Israelite. And so she told Naaman, she said, hey, there's a prophet that I think can help you. In fact, I know she believed in God. She said, his name is Elisha, and you should go and see what he can do because I believe he can help you. So Naaman wanted to be cured from the disease. Like most people, if they're dealing with something, they want to be cured. We don't want to walk around with whatever it is, depression, anxiety, hearing voices, all of those things. We don't want those things, right? And so he's like, yeah, I want to do that. So he went and he traveled and he found Elijah. He went and he's expecting his miracle to come a certain way. Okay, so Elijah sent his servant to tell Naaman the instructions that God told him. And basically God told him, go wash in the Jordan River 7 times. And Naaman was angry because he wanted the prophet himself to come out, give him to say probably something really great and lay hands on him or to speak a great word over his life. And so Naaman was really discouraged by the instruction that was given to him in order to be healed. Right. So Naaman complained that the Jordan River was really dirty and that there were other rivers in Syria that were a lot cleaner that he would rather dip in. If that was the instruction, can I at least do it over here? Some of you are kind of like Naaman and you want God or the prophet or whoever to come out and say something really specific, something beautiful over your life, maybe even sprinkle something over your head and bam, everything works out. Right. You want to be delivered quickly. You don't want to do the soul work because it's messy. That's literally what Naaman said. I don't want to dip in that river because it's dirty. And some of you say, I don't want to do the soul work because it's dirty. It's ugly. I don't like that. I don't want that. And so what I want is, I want the deliverance. I want to be whole. I want to be healed. I do not want to look at myself and see anything that's not pleasant. I do not want to be called out. I do not want to be told that I am inconsistent or I'm out of integrity with myself or with others. I do not want anyone to look at me and to be able to see that I have this disease. But guess what, Naaman? We can see it. Guess what, Naaman? We can see it. We think we are hiding it, but it is showing up everywhere we go. It is showing up everywhere we go. And so you think you're hiding it, but everybody can see that you're mean. You think you're hiding it, but everybody can see that you're terrified at night. You think you're hiding it, but everybody can see that you're terrified to go speak up for yourself. You think you're hiding it, but everybody can see that you have a million talents, but you're too afraid to release those talents to the world. You think you're hiding it, but everybody can see that you're confused in your mind. You think you're hiding it, but we can all see that you're pushing relationships away. You think you're hiding it, but we can see it, Naaman. We see the leprosy on your skin. And so it is not a badge of honor to say, I'm going to keep this leprosy, rather than saying, I'm going to do the soul work to dip in here. And though it is an ugly, messy river, though it is nasty, though it is ugly, I would rather dip in this messy Jordan 9 times and come up clean. I would rather go and get my mind renewed every single day. I would rather learn the patterns of how trauma impacted me so that I don't have to keep making those same mistakes. I would rather do that work over and over again so that I can come up whole, and rather than keeping that disease because it doesn't look the way I wanted it to look. So it can be dirty. Self-reflection can be heavy. But here's what happened. Naaman's servant asked him, why won't you just do that simple task? Even though it's dirty, it's messy, but why won't you do it if it's going to make you better? And you have to ask yourself, why won't you do it if it'll make you better? Why won't I do it if it'll make me better? Why do I keep saying I'm okay when in my heart I know I'm struggling to sleep at night? Why do I keep saying I'm okay when in my heart I know I can't maintain healthy relationships with the opposite sex, or I can't maintain the healthy relationships with the same sex? I can't connect with other people. Why won't I go and do the work? Even though it may hurt, the work is worth it. The work is worth it. I work out in the morning times, not every single day. I did not go this morning, and my body said thank you. But when I'm working out, I don't enjoy the pain that my body is feeling. I do not enjoy it. Yesterday we worked upper body. My lower body is stronger than my upper body. We worked upper body, which is the area that I need most work in, right? Well, we're doing it and we're doing an exercise. And every time I'm like, oh my gosh, this weight feels so heavy to me. My arms are literally shaking and it's hurting. I keep doing it because I can remember when I first started and I couldn't lift the same amount of weight that I was lifting yesterday, even though it was still hurting. And I thought the reason I'm doing this is because I want my body to be strong in the future. I'm doing this for future me. I'm doing this because I want to be better. And so the work is not always pretty. It's not always someone telling us how great we are. When we're in there, they're saying, yeah, my trainer may say, good job. But you know what he also say? You need some more weight. Put some more weight on that bar. You know what he'll also say? You can go longer than that. You can go harder than that. You can go faster than that. He's encouraging me to do more. Was that your best? So we don't want to hear that. We really want to hear the praise, right? And so it's important that we understand this. So again, Naaman hears his servant and he's like, okay, fine, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it because I'm tired of this disease. And sometimes we do have to get tired of the situation. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to keep dealing with not being able to connect with people. I don't want to keep feeling anxious all the time. I don't want to keep feeling depressed all the time. I don't want to have ups and downs in my mood and I'm going off on my kids and I'm not even really sure why I'm going off on my kids. I don't want to do that anymore. So I'm really ready to do the work. Okay. I'm seeing comments. I don't see any questions. So I think we're good. So again, Naaman decides he's going to do it. He listens to the servant. He stopped being proud and he went and he washed himself. And then the Lord healed Naaman. Like Elisha said, Naaman knew that Elisha was a prophet after that, right? So what I'm telling you is it doesn't always feel good to do the work. But after you do the work and you come out and you go, whoa. Actually, we had, I think it was last week, we had Karen Booth on here and she was talking about I didn't know how good it would feel to be this free. She was talking about her relationship with her husband. And she was like, it's so nice to be free. She had to go through the work to get to that place. But now she's there and she's talking and she's crying tears of joy because she's saying, wow, I didn't know it would feel this good to be this free. And so we want that for everybody. So pride and misinformation is keeping a lot of people from healing. You don't think you need help. And any help that is there, you think I can just do it by myself or with God alone. And yes, I do believe God absolutely can come in and supernaturally deliver us. But you have to remember, God created some of us to be a solution. No. Let me change that. God created all of us to be a solution. Everyone is not the solution to the same problem. And so your solution may be connected with someone else, right? When you are overweight, physically overweight, God does not come down while you are sleeping and give you lipo. If he did, sign me up. He does not come down while we are asleep and just take away the fat from our bodies. He doesn't say, ooh, that fat is going to later cause them heart problems. Let me go and suck that out. No, he says, I'm going to give them knowledge about how to eat correctly. I'm going to give them trainers and nutritionists to give them information. I hope that they will open their ears to the information and the people that are there, right? So he gives us these things, but you still have to do the work. All the knowledge in the world is not going to help you if it's not applied. Knowledge that's not applied does not help. So again, why would he give you a trainer? Because the trainer can help you avoid common mistakes. A trainer can help you avoid injury. Wow. Hear me. I've gone to the gym I've gone to the gym and did the work and not got certain results because I didn't have good form. And in fact, I caused harm to my body. I worked out and actually caused harm to my body. So why would God give counselors? Why would God give mentors and coaches and all of these things? Because they are trying to help you do things in a way so you can have proper form to help you to maximize the benefit of the work. We do work all the time, and sometimes our work doesn't produce a lot of stuff. So it's not just doing work, it's about doing the right work, doing the right work the right way. Right. So you can go in, the right work is lifting weights and exercising, right? Great. But if you go in there and you lift too much weights, you can hurt yourself. So it's not just doing the right work, it's doing the right work the right way. That give us knowledge that can accelerate our progress. And so, again, I don't want you to see psychiatrists, psychologists as the enemy. It's about how can I see these people as a benefit? Holy Spirit, show me how to utilize the people that you've given for me to be benefit from. God is not opposed to psychology, but psychology is the study of our soul, where God understands our soul completely. So psychology is a lesser system. However, it does provide us with some practical tools to help us live more peacefully in the world. Okay. So I see people here. I want to know what questions you guys have about what we've talked about or anything, because again, this is our Q&A. So if you want to ask a question, feel free to do it. It does not have to be only about what we talked about today, but if you have questions about what we talked about today, let me know, because I want to open it up and give people a few minutes to ask your questions in the comments, or again, shoot me something in my inbox and I will respond to you. Is this helpful? Are you guys understanding? I'm just checking here to make sure I don't have any questions, any additional questions. Okay. I'm not seeing any questions. So I want to answer some things that I get, some commonly asked questions. Some people say, well, how do I find a counselor? There are a lot of ways you can find a counselor. If you have insurance and your insurance covers mental health, you can actually reach out to your insurance and say, I need someone that you can refer me to, right? And so they can tell you a list of people who are paneled on their insurance, which means they'll pay for those specific people if you want to use them. You can also, there are sites like Psychology Today where you can type in your zip code and find people in your specific state, your area. What they will do is, what that site does is list the profile. You can read through the profile and see if someone matches your need, see if they accept your insurance and all of those things. Whatever is important to you, can see their rate and those types of things, their credentialing, their training, and you can decide if you want to connect with them. There's a site called therapyforblackgirls.com. You can also do that. I think there's one, I know there's one, it's Therapy for Black Men. I think it's Therapy for Black Girls and therapyforblackmen.com. You can double check on the one for men. I'll see about that one. So you can look at these sites. There are other sites. There are tons of other sites. You can Google, actually. You can ask a friend if they do therapy. But these are some sites. These are some common sites that I recommend often for people to find someone that accepts your insurance. Now, I just talked about psychology and being a believer. So if you say, man, I don't want to just go and talk to somebody who's going to tell me something that is outside of the will of God, it's okay for you to ask your therapist, hey, I'm a believer. I want someone who can speak to that part of my life. Are you qualified to do that? You can interview your therapist. You don't have to just choose somebody because they're on your insurance panel and go with it. If that's not a person that's a good fit for you, it is okay for you to say, hey, thank you, but I'm going to keep looking. You don't have to stick with the first therapist that you have. You want to make sure that it's a good match. Why? Because that's a very vulnerable relationship, right? And when I say vulnerable, I mean you're in a vulnerable state. And so you're sharing some truths with people that sometimes you've never shared with anyone. People come into my office literally all the time, and they're like, I've never told anybody this. Sometimes it's the first session that we've met that they open up like that. Sometimes it may be several sessions in and they go, I can't believe I'm telling you this because I've never shared it with anyone. So you want it to be someone that you can be comfortable with, someone that does share your belief system. And therapists aren't going to be, if they're healthy, they're not going to be offended if you want to know those things to make sure they're a good match. There are also some therapists who will allow you to do like a 10 to 15 minute free consultation. And what that is just a quick conversation to say, I want to ask a couple questions to see if we mesh. I do that often. People will call and they're like, hey, I saw your name, I saw your profile. I just wanted to talk to it for a few minutes to see basically how we click. That's okay. You have to take ownership of your process of your healing in that sense, right? Okay, I did see a question. Why do you think people run away from doing the work? I think people run away from doing the work because it's uncomfortable. The same reason people don't work out consistently, because it doesn't feel good. Right? It requires a level of discipline that ultimately our flesh would rather not do, right? I would rather, if I'm just totally honest, I would rather eat pizza, cheeseburgers, cheese dip, um, chips, you know, most of the time in my diet. However, that's not healthy for me. And so trying to eat in a healthier way, that doesn't always feel good, especially when you've been trained a certain way. And that's the other thing. What is comfortable for us is oftentimes hard for us to walk away from because it feels safe. Even though we may know it's not, it feels safe. Excuse me. And so I think that's one reason why. Tiara, I see you have a question. Let me see if you're typing it out. If you're sending it through my inbox, I don't see it. So I'm assuming you're typing it out here in the comments. So go for it and I will answer that question. But Shavandra, I think that's a good question. I think it's because it's uncomfortable and that may not be it's hard sometimes. And sometimes it's just not what they're familiar with seeing. Right. And so if you saw your grandmother or your mom or your auntie or whoever doing things a certain way, to do things differently may even cause you to face some backlash, and people don't want pushback. And so sometimes it's that as well. How do you believe we can reach those who have a history of spiritual abuse and lack spiritual discernment? The simple answer to that, Tiara, I think is love. I know that may sound really simplistic, but I really do believe it's love. We reach those people who have been spiritually abused by showing them genuine love and concern. That is a real thing. Spiritual abuse, I've heard people who have been manipulated by spiritual leaders. They have been physically, sexually, or just spiritually abused, meaning someone took advantage of them in some way spiritually. And I think showing them authenticity with love, because sometimes it's, oh man, I remember a client, and when she told me her story, I was like, my God, today she had been abused in multiple times from multiple ministries or churches or leaders. And even as she's telling the story, I hear the abusive person, I hear their pain too. Right. And so, and oftentimes I think it's love and being consistent with those people and, begin to show them. People will show you. I just finished a challenge with my mentor, my pastor and coach, Pastor Sean. And a lot of people would say, I've been following her for 3 or 4 years. 3 or 4 years they followed her, and all they did was watch to see if she was consistent and she showed love. After consistency with love, they go, I think I can trust this person. Now, some of us go, well, you think so after 3 years? If you've been traumatized or abused in that way, it can literally take you a long time to actually build up the courage to say, I think I might think about trusting them. And so it is really important that we're able to consistently show up for people in love without condemning them. I think we can say that there are standards without being critical. I think we can have standards without being critical. You can say, hey, that's not right, without belittling people. You can correct people without being mean. There is a way to correct, and that's something I think the body of Christ has to learn. There is a way to correct people, and there is a thing. We do want things done decently and in order, but a part of order is love. Love is always in order. Okay. Do you think we should seek out therapy outside of faith if that's the situation? I I'm going to say yes and no. And so the reason I say that, I think for some people, um, they're like, because I've had people that come in as well. Because so again, I started this by saying I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm also a Christian. I do not advertise myself as a Christian counselor. Okay. I do not advertise. There is such a thing as a Christian counselor, which means when you come in, you know that this person is going to give you Christian based stuff, right? So if you come into my office and you are not a believer, because I am not advertising as a Christian counselor, I don't say, well, the word of God says. I don't put that on you, right? I'm answering the question. I hope, just follow me. So do you think you should? So there are people who will come in and they will say, I don't believe in this and blah, blah, blah. And they've been really hurt by church. They've been really hurt by, spiritual abuse or whatever, or just sometimes just trauma. And they're just angry because they lost their grandma or their mom, or, something traumatic happened to them and they're angry with God about that. But if that's the case, they still want to see love and consistency, regardless. And it's not, so I don't think it always has to come from a faith-based person in order to heal that. But sometimes people are saying, hey, I don't want it because I don't want accountability for my part in certain things. And I think, hey, that's you still want to be working towards the healing. And then I believe the work of Holy Spirit will still begin to draw you to those people. So do I think it's okay to seek therapy outside of faith if that's the situation? Yeah, I think it's okay to seek therapy, but you just have to be mindful and know that they're not coming from a Christian worldview, or they're not coming from that perspective. And so if you're wanting a faith-filled perspective, you need to get a faith-filled counselor or a therapist. I hope that makes sense. But I do think you can get benefit from therapy that is not Christian based, because I provide therapy for people who are not believers, and I don't again tell them, well, this is what the word says. This is, you wrong for doing this because of the Bible. I help them through the strategies of psychology. There was another question I thought I saw here. Any other questions? I don't see any more, but I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Did you guys get your questions answered? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, so I would say, going back to Tiara's question, if you have someone who is has a history of spiritual abuse, just love on them. Now, it doesn't mean you have to condone anything that the word doesn't approve of. We talked about that in children's church. We don't have to co-sign on something that the word doesn't approve of. But what you can do is consistently show up with love and kindness and begin to draw them, because it is the goodness of God that draws people to repentance, right? And so it is through that goodness that they begin to say, I feel safe enough to even talk to you about these situations. I feel safe enough. And then you can say, may I give you my perspective from the Christian worldview? May I give you that perspective? And so I think that is the key. Show up consistently, show up with soundness, show up with kindness, show up with love. And that is very powerful. I actually had a client to come into my office. They were a non-believer. We did not talk about accepting Jesus or any of those things in the session at all. We talked about what they came in for, which were actually relationship issues. We worked through that. And it was, oh my gosh, probably 5 or 6 years later, I received a message from the client saying, thank you for what you did in that office. They said, I am a believer, and I know it started in that office. I know it started in that office. We didn't talk about them accepting Jesus. We didn't do any of those things, right? But he responded and said, I know that because he had to get to a place where he was even open to hear something like that. And I'm not saying, I did not talk to him, try to encourage him, tell him he needed the word, tell him he needed Jesus, he going to hell. I didn't do any of those things. I simply showed up with kindness. I wasn't judgmental. I wasn't criticizing. I wasn't any of those things. I just showed up consistently, and I genuinely cared about his well-being. I genuinely wanted him to be healthy and in a good place. I genuinely wanted that. People can feel that genuine connection. People can feel when you genuinely care about them. And I believe that's what he was feeling. And he wrote me that letter, and he was saying, hey, I believe this. I've worked through all of these things. And I just wanted to reach out and say thank you, because I'm a believer now, and I know that it started in your office. And so that's what I would say to answer that question. Let your light shine. Oh, yeah, absolutely, Yolanda. Absolutely. And so if you show up consistently, if you show up with kindness, we're talking, we always want to be professional. And so, again, I'm not going to cross ethical boundaries in my office, but I am going to consistently be genuine with my clients, and people can feel that no matter where you are. And if your calling is not in mental health, if your calling is in business, if your calling is in whatever, show up consistently with a genuine heart to please God. Partner with Holy Spirit to do that in the world. And guess what? You're going to begin to draw people to you. They're going to be attracted to your business. They're going to be attracted to your light. They're going to be attracted to your Father in heaven, who is actually doing the work through you. So again, keep that in mind. I appreciate it. I don't see any more questions. I'm going to give you guys just a couple more minutes. If you have any more questions, this is I try to do once a month a Q&A. So if you did have a question that was answered, or that you needed answered today, think of some questions. I will be back next week to do this as well. All right. So again, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. Share this video, tag a friend. I know some people may just be joining. If you're just joining us, you joined us a little late, it's okay. Tag a friend, share the video. They can watch the replay. I hope this helped you. Join me back here next week. We're going to have more with Minding My Mental Health. Every week we're here Thursday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we are tearing down the stigma with mental health, and we are bringing awareness about mental health concerns in our community. I do have a question. As a therapist, do you have a therapist? I actually don't have a therapist in this moment, but I have had a therapist, and I am actually currently looking to find a different therapist. I do believe that therapy helps us all. So I was actually just talking to some friends, I guess this week or last week, and I was saying I need to find another therapist myself. And why? Because even if you are in a healthy place, we all need a place that we can process our own stuff. And so, yeah, absolutely. I advocate for therapy. I don't ever want to be a hypocrite. And so, yeah, Shavondra, I'm actually looking for someone myself to just have that safe place for myself. And I have had a therapist in the past. Great question. How do you choose a therapist? You choose a therapist a couple ways. And I actually went through this a little bit earlier, but I'll kind of go through it real quickly. There are different sites you can go on, psychologytoday.com, therapyforblackgirls.com. That allows you to see the picture, show kind of what they are about, what they believe, that kind of stuff, right? And you can see if that sounds good. But you can also, Shania, you can also, for some therapists, you can call them and see if you can get like a 15-minute consultation and see if you vibe with them, see if you get a good feeling with them, see if that feels right. As a believer, I think you can also say, Holy Spirit, show me who I need to connect with. You said, is it fair to look at age and experience? I think it's fair. I just don't want you to limit yourself. I think it's fair because there are certain things you're like, if I'm talking about, if I'm 75, a 25-year-old therapist may not be able to connect with me like somebody who's older, right? But I don't want you to just say because they don't look this certain way or they're not in this specific demographic, they can't help me. Because again, that's not true. Because now what we've done is like Naaman, we talked about earlier, we may have said this is the only way that I can be helped. So be open. But I do think that it's okay. Specifically when I was looking for a therapist, I wanted someone who was a Black woman. That's okay, right? But as a Black, I didn't want, because I don't think all Black women would be a good fit for me. Just because you're a Black woman doesn't mean you can help me. But I was looking for specific things. And honestly, as a therapist, I was probably a little pickier than most people because I was looking and I was going, what's their training? I want you to be able to understand. And so I was a little picky. But yeah, I do believe it's okay. I think it's fair for you to do that. Just ask yourself, if you have a good feeling about someone and they don't fit specifically in the maybe the age range or the look, or go, okay, Holy Spirit, is this a good match for me? And you don't have to stick. Finding a therapist is kind of sometimes like finding a hairdresser. You find somebody and you go and you go, they did my hair real cute, but it took way too long. I'm not going back. You don't have to stick with them just because you start with them. You can find someone that is a good fit for you. Or I went there and I did not like the way they did my hair. I won't be going back. And so I think it's okay to find someone that is in a demographic. But again, you want to find someone ultimately that is a good fit for you, because it is a very important relationship. It's a very important journey. And so I tell my clients all the time, I am honored that people would trust me with that journey, because people bring some heavy stuff. And so, yeah, Yolanda said you should be picky. So you do want to be, be comfortable. You want to have that good feeling with the person that you are with, because you're going to be opening up to them about some serious stuff and you want to feel safe with that person. I think that's a great question. Any other questions? You're welcome. Okay. Well, you guys, again, let me know how I can help you. Reach out, share the broadcast, come back next week, same time. If you have not subscribed on YouTube, I am asking you to go to YouTube and subscribe. It's my first name, Tenitria, at Tenitria on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. This broadcast also is broadcast on YouTube, and I don't always do a lot of work over there. So I want you guys to go and do that. I got some great things coming up. So beware be aware that those things are coming up. We got some products that we're going to be releasing. I'm really excited about some things I'm going to be doing with self-care. If you are a single woman and you are on your journey to healing and you say, I really want a relationship, but I don't know if my heart is ready. I'm still a little bitter, or I'm just fed up with the dating pool. I don't even know how to date. It's been a really long time. I'm confused. I'm scared. I'm all of those things. I have a program, and we actually started it this month, but it's not too late for you to join. The registration is still open until the end of this month. It's called the Wholeness Path. It is a group program for single women who are ready to prepare their hearts for love. We had an amazing, powerful time, our first class. You can still go back and catch the replay so that you will be caught up. It is a 6-month program. Again, we're going to open that up until the end of this month for people to still join. So if you know of somebody who could benefit, go ahead and tag them. It is $49.99 a month. Not that much. I wanted to make it where a lot of people could come in, afford it, but we're getting to the bottom of some things. There's a lot of healing. Hey, Karen, I talked about you earlier today. Go back and check it out. There is healing that's taking place on the Wholeness Path. So if you know of somebody, or if you are that somebody, make sure you join that. I'm going to put the link here. You can click that link if you want to be a part of the healing path, because again, I definitely want women to be whole and healed and ready for love, because when love is beautiful and it shows up, you want to have a heart ready for it. Doesn't mean that you have to be perfect for love to come, because trust me, none of us are. But you do want your heart to be healthy as much as possible. And that's with or without wanting someone to be in a relationship with. You just want to be healthy and whole regardless. So sign up for that if you are a single woman and you're ready to do that. I love y'all. Thank you so much. I will see you guys back here next Thursday at 12 p.m. Have an amazing Thursday. Bye-bye.